In an underground elevator, fully stocked with supplies, a young man, Thomas, awakens with no memory. As the elevator ascends, he notices a box making a strange noise. The door opens, revealing dozens of boys staring at him. One of the boys, Glade, jumps in, immediately dubs him a greenie, and pulls him out. Panicked, Thomas tries to escape by running, but quickly realizes he is trapped in a small, fenced clearing, a glade, surrounded by massive, inescapable walls. He is soon thrown into a cage where Albie, the leader, questions him. Thomas nervously explains his amnesia. Albie assures him this is normal. None of the boys remember anything except their names, which usually return within a few days. After Thomas promises not to run again, Albie releases him to give him a tour. The group lives entirely within the glade, performing all necessary chores to survive. Everything else they need arrives via the elevator, which they call the box. The box arrives once a month, bringing fresh supplies and a new, amnesiac boy, or greenie. Crucially, no one knows who sends him these things, or why they are there. Thomas notices a foreboding door set into the huge wall. Albie outlines the 3 core rules of the Glade. Dear part, never harm another person and never enter that door. After Chuck finishes the tour, Thomas remains fixated on the mysterious door. Suddenly, Ben and Minho emerge from it, surprising Thomas, who thought entering was forbidden. Chuck explains that only a select few are allowed to enter, the designated runners, who are tasked with navigating the deadly maze that lies beyond the walls. As Thomas approaches the door for a closer look, Glade shoves him, forcefully reminding him of the rules. Conversation is abruptly interrupted when the maze begins to shift, and the door slams shut for the night. That night, the boys host a party to welcome Thomas. Newt explains that the runners enter the maze every morning to map it, searching for an exit. They've been trying for 3 years without success. A strange, mechanical screeching sound echoes from the maze. Newt explains this sound belongs to the Grievers, mechanical, monster-like creatures that patrol the maze at night. If the runners don't return before the doors close, they are trapped, and no one has ever survived a night with the Grievers. Thomas expresses a desire to become a runner, but Newt says runners are chosen. While talking, Thomas is accidentally pushed by Glade and another boy who are wrestling. Glade challenges Thomas to a fight, and the boys form a circle. The goal is simple: push your opponent out of the circle to win. Glade, showcasing his wrestling skills, easily throws Thomas around while mocking him. Eventually, Thomas manages to grab Glade and powerfully throw him to the ground, impressing everyone. Glade immediately retaliates with a kick that makes Thomas fall and hit his head hard. The impact triggers his memory, and he remembers his name, Thomas. That night, Thomas dreams of running, a strange lab, and a woman's voice saying, "Wicked is good." The next morning, Albie takes Thomas to a wall where all the boys have carved their names. While carving his own, Thomas notices several names have been crossed out, signifying their deaths. Later, while gathering fertilizer in the woods, Thomas finds a grave and human bones. He is suddenly tackled by Ben, who looks sickly, growls, and screams, "I saw you. And you did this, it's your fault." Ben tries to choke Thomas, who grabs a skull and hits him to escape. A chase ensues until Thomas manages to yell for help just before Ben pushes him down a hill. The boys hold Ben down and discover a disturbing scar on his stomach. Ben begs for mercy, but the boys place him in the pit. Albie explains that Ben is experiencing the changing, which happens when a boy is stung by a Griever. Since the infection will only get worse, the boys push a crying Ben into the maze right before the door closes, effectively banishing him. That night, they cross his name off the wall. Thomas has another dream about the mysterious woman, the lab, and a girl helping him with an experiment. The next morning, he is confused to see Albie entering the maze, though he is not a runner. Newt explains Albie went to retrace Ben's steps to find out how he was stung. He also reveals that Albie was the very first boy to arrive at the Glade and was alone for a month before the box brought others. Later that day, the boys grow anxious as Albie and the runners are late. As the door is about to close, they see Minho struggling to carry a wounded Albie, who is clearly slowing him down. Sending rescuers is strictly against the rules, but Thomas, acting instinctively, sprints into the maze and makes it inside just as the door seals shut. Thomas checks on Albie and confirms he has been stung, forcing Minho to knock him out. With the Grievers screeching audible, Minho insists there's nowhere to hide, but Thomas notices the ivy covering the walls. With Minho's help, they tie Albie's unconscious body and hoist him up to hide him among the thick plants. While they are still working, a Griever appears, causing Minho to abandon them and run. Thomas holds onto the rope, keeping Albie suspended, and hides behind the ivy. When the Griever passes, Thomas realizes the creature is made of mechanical parts. After an encounter where Thomas is chased and almost stung, he lures the Griever between the massive walls as they are changing and closing, which crushes the monster. The next day, the boys are stunned to see Minho and Thomas emerge, carrying Albie, and learn that Thomas's quick thinking led to the killing of a Griever. During a meeting, Glade demands Thomas be punished for breaking the rules, while Minho argues he should be made a runner. New compromises. Thomas will spend one night in the pit and become an official runner the next day. The box arrives prematurely, containing not supplies, but an unconscious girl, whom Thomas immediately recognizes from his dream. Newt finds a note in her hand that says, "She's the last one ever." The girl suddenly wakes up, calls out Thomas's name, and then falls unconscious again. After the girl is taken to a hut, Thomas, convinced they can find answers, leads Minho and 3 other runners back into the maze. They find the crushed Griever, rip off its leg, and discover a strange beeping device. Examining it later, they notice the letters WCKD, the same as on their supplies, concluding that the group who sent them there also created the Grievers. Minho takes Thomas to his hut to show him the maps and a mock-up of the maze. He has mapped every variation but hasn't found an exit. They deduce that the Grievers emerge from section number 7, based on the number displayed on the device. The girl, Teresa, wakes up and hides in the watchtower, but stops resisting when she sees Thomas. She explains she has amnesia but knows her name, and the others said she whispered Thomas's name in her sleep. Teresa tells him about the only memory she has, which matches his dreams, and reveals she found 2 vials of blue liquid in her pocket with the letters WCKD. Thomas realizes the liquid is from Wicked and, recalling his dream's phrase, "Wicked is good," suggests they inject Albie with it to cure him. When he tries, Albie freaks out, repeating, "You shouldn't be here." They restrain him, and Teresa administers the injection, instantly putting Albie to sleep. Glade locks Thomas in the pit for the night. Moments later, Chuck secretly brings him food and shows him a small, carved wooden doll. Chuck, who can't remember his parents, explains his wish to reunite with them and give them the doll. Thomas, moved, promises to get everyone out of the Glades so Chuck can fulfill his wish. The next morning, Minho and Thomas immediately enter the maze. Following the device's guidance, they run through the sections until they reach section 7, which should not have been open yet. The device starts beeping, and Thomas correctly concludes it's showing them the path. The signal grows stronger as they follow it. The device activates a hidden door, revealing a tunnel coated in Griever goo. Suddenly, a light scans them, an alarm wails, and the tunnel begins to close. Minho and Thomas immediately run back, dodging the shifting walls and moving parts in section 7. They're forced to crawl between 2 closing walls to escape the section just before being crushed. Moments later, they are back in the Glade and announce that they have found the exit. Glade, however, is suspicious, convinced it is a trap. An argument is interrupted when Teresa announces that Albie is awake. When they check on him, Albie is disoriented and warns them they cannot leave, stating he remembers everything. He asks Thomas why he came, saying Thomas was always their favorite. This conversation is cut short as the boys realize the main maze door has not closed. In fact, all the other doors are now opening. There is no time to plan. The Grievers are pouring out of the maze. Everyone scatters, running for cover in the woods. They hear the screams of boys being attacked and captured. Several, including Glade, hide in the box and seal themselves inside. Thomas, Teresa, and others hide in the vegetable field until a mechanical Griever tail snatches another boy. As they run to regroup with Albie, more people are caught and stung. When a Griever blocks their path, Teresa sets it on fire with a lamp, allowing the rest of the group to rush into the largest hut and barricade the door. The Griever attempts to break in and, failing that, climbs onto the roof, tears it apart, and kidnaps another boy. Its tail reaches through the walls, trying to grab Chuck. Albie shoves the Griever's mechanical limb, causing it to drop Chuck, but the monster instantly returns and captures Albie. Albie shouts at Thomas to get everyone out of the Glade before he is dragged away. The attack stops. The only survivors are Thomas's group and the boys who hid in the box. Glade emerges and immediately punches Thomas, blaming him for the entire attack. Desperate for the full truth, Thomas injects himself with a Griever sting and passes out. He undergoes the changing, dreaming of the lab, Teresa, other boys undergoing experiments, and the woman who insists Wicked is good. When Thomas wakes up, he is in the pit with Teresa, who used her remaining vial to save him. Newt, Minho, and Chuck explain that Glade has taken control, convincing the survivors that everything is Thomas's fault. To their shock, Thomas agrees and reveals what he has remembered. As children, they were experimented on by the organization WCKD. Thomas and Teresa actually worked for WCKD and monitored the process before being sent into the maze themselves. The Glade and the maze are not a prison, but a brutal test they must pass. The team agrees they must finish what they started. Minutes later, Thomas and Teresa are brought before Glade, who is crossing out names on the wall. Glade intends to throw them into the maze, but some boys hesitate, thinking Thomas might know the exit. Thomas uses the distraction to overpower his guards, and Minho holds Gally still at knife point. Thomas announces that he and his team are leaving, and anyone is welcome to join them. Though Gally thinks they are insane, roughly half the remaining boys enter the maze with them. After running, the group reaches Section 7 and finds a Griever guarding the tunnel entrance. The teens rush the bridge and attack the beast, surrounding it with spears and blades. During the struggle, Teresa hits a mechanical leg, which accidentally knocks the retrieval device away. Chuck runs to get it, ending up at the bridge's edge, where a second Griever is climbing up. The boys manage to push the first Griever into the abyss, only for 2 more to appear on the bridge. While the main group holds the creatures back, losing more people, Teresa and Chuck take the device to the hidden door. Inside the tunnel, they find another door that requires an 8-digit code. Thomas deduces it must be the sequence of the maze sections. As Minho begins reciting the numbers, Minho finishes the sequence, and Teresa uses it to open the door. Thomas throws a spear at the Grievers to hold them back until the tunnel walls crush them. The group crosses through and finds a corridor in a modern building with electricity. They walk until they reach a door marked exit. Behind it, they find a lab filled with dead scientists and guards. In the main room, security cameras confirm the scientists had been watching the Glade all along. When Thomas presses a button, a recording plays, featuring the woman from his dreams, Dr. Ava, the director of WCKD, the operations of the World Catastrophe Kill Zone Department. She explains that if they are watching this, they have successfully completed the maze trials, which were implemented for a critical reason. Years ago, the sun scorched the earth, causing mass death and famine, followed by a deadly virus called the flare. The flare attacks the brain and drives people to violence. While it was initially thought incurable, an immune generation eventually emerged. The scientists put these immune kids through harsh environments like the Glade to study their brain activity and find a cure. Ava explains that WCKD kept these methods secret, as not everyone agreed with them. The video ends with Ava committing suicide on screen. As the group tries to process this information, another door opens. Before they can move, Gally appears behind them. Teresa notices he has been stung. Gally says there is no freedom outside and opens fire just as Minho throws a spear, killing him. Unfortunately, a stray bullet hits Chuck. Chuck gives Thomas his wooden doll and thanks him before dying. While the group mourns their friend, a team of armed men rushes in and drags them out of the lab. A helicopter is waiting to take them away. Meanwhile, a still-alive Ava is shown speaking to her colleagues, confirming that Thomas has taken the bait and that phase 2 can now begin. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.